The name of Karl von Clausewitz, 1780 to 1831, says a lot to an informed reader. In military schools, the study of his works is included in the mandatory program. But since most of our readers have not studied in military schools, it is necessary to send some information about this wonderful man. Karl von Clausewitz was a Prussian officer who took part in the wars as a boy, as a junker, in 1793. After Prussia suffered a crushing defeat by Napoleon in 1806 and was occupied by French troops, he, like many Prussian officers, joined the Russian army. Russian aide-de-camp served in the War of 1812, earned the rank of colonel, and when Prussia was liberated by Russian troops, he returned to the Prussian service and participated in the completion of the defeat of Napoleon. After a long era of all European wars, Clausewitz undertook to write military historical and theoretical works. His phrase, "The purpose of any military campaign is the destruction of enemy manpower," has become an axiom for the general staffs of many countries. Clausewitz devoted 2 works to the War of 1812, The Campaign in Russia of 1812, and A General Overview of the Events of the Campaign of 1812 in Russia. There, analyzing the strategic actions of the parties and scrupulously counting losses, he asks the question: was such a plan, the defeat of the Russian army, completely unworkable in Russia, and should not any other plan have been preferred? Clausewitz answers this question negatively. The defeat of the Russian army, the conquest of Moscow, all these goals could have been achieved in one campaign. But we believe that these goals should have been associated with another essential condition, namely, it was necessary to remain formidable for the enemy in Moscow as well. By purely arithmetic calculations, based on the number of the Russian army that opposed Napoleon, Clausewitz comes to the conclusion that Napoleon did not have enough 110,000 more personnel to win. He arrived in Moscow with 90,000 people, and he should have brought 200,000. However, where Napoleon could have taken these 110,000, Clausewitz does not say. According to his calculations, it turns out that if Napoleon had been more careful about the personnel of his army during the offensive, he still would not have been able to save more than 30,000 people, so his army would have been stronger during the occupation of Moscow, and this, according to Clausewitz, was clearly not enough for victory. It seems that Clausewitz's arithmetic, no matter how thorough it may be, is fundamentally wrong. The patriotic war waged by the Russian people against the enemy who invaded their country is not quantifiable. It seems that the Russians would have found additional strength in themselves to overcome the extra 110,000 Napoleonic soldiers. It is necessary to focus not on the number of Kutuzov's army, which it reached in the autumn of 1812, since it was ultimately determined by the number of Napoleon's army, but on those potential forces of Russia that remained unused. And they were huge. Moreover, Napoleon himself said, "In war, the moral factor refers to the material as 3 to 1. The undoubted moral advantage was on the side of the Russian troops defending their country from an uninvited invasion." However, Clausewitz himself doubts his accounting. However, another question is whether 200,000 people located in the heart of Russia would have had the proper moral impact and achieved peace. That the Russians would leave Moscow, burn it down and start a war of extermination, this could not have been confidently foreseen, but perhaps it did not seem likely either. But once this happened, the war as a whole, no matter how it was conducted, was doomed, for Napoleon, to failure.